Welcome to the Financial Sense series. I am your host, Judy McCutcheon, your badass queen. As an experienced financial educator and badass impact coach, I am the creator of the 30-day Money Mindset Detox program. I am passionate about helping women build wealth from the inside out. And I have some really exciting things coming up, one of which is a Money Mindset Detox mini course on January 16th, 2021. It is all about you building wealth from the inside out. So if you want to be one of the first ones to know when registration is open, click the link below to get on our waitlist. Now let's get into the show. In this series, we'll be talking all things personal finance. We will discuss your money personality, your money beliefs, your money values, savings, debt, insurance, retirement, investment, and everything in between. Money is such a powerful word. Even the mere mention of the word arouses extreme emotions. Money is central to everything we do. It helps us turn our dreams into reality and gives us the freedom to live life on our terms. Yet, the startling reality is that most of us never formally learn about money. Personal finance is not a subject taught in schools or colleges. A recent survey shows that 77% of people are stressed about money. The American Psychological Association cites money as the number one stressors in people's lives. Now, today I am joined by my tribe. I am joined by a remarkable group of ladies from different countries, cultures, and backgrounds. So, with me today is Monique Russell. And Monique is a communication expert, and founder of Clear Communication Solutions. Monique is one of my cheerleaders. She pushes and pushes me to be the best version of myself. If you need a communication expert on your team, Monique is who you need to call. With us, joining us also is Miss Veronica Owusu. Now, Veronica is a deep dive mindset coach. She's an impact course strategist and educator. And I have to tell you, Veronica was responsible for helping me crack the badass code. And she is my dancing queen. If you want to discover your gold dust, Veronica is the coach you need. We also have Dr. Rochelle Haynes. Dr. Haynes is an author, global speaker, management consultant, and lecturer. She is also the founder of Crowd Potential Consulting, and she specializes in gig HR, and she's actually coined that term, gig HR, to help companies enhance their working relationship with contract workers, digital nomads, and other offsite stakeholders. And then we have joining us from the Grand Bahama is Killeen Newton, the Bahamian money maven. Killeen is a personal finance and business strategist. She's a philanthropist, a Paul Harris Fellow for the Rotarians among us. She's a spoken word artist, an international speaker, a TEDx speaker, and a best-selling author. Killeen is the founder of Amplify Your Legacy, a mindset and money mastery movement. Ladies, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today in this inaugural money mindset program that we need so badly in the Caribbean. So thank you so much for joining me as we discuss this taboo subject, because money really seems to be a taboo subject. And for us in the Caribbean, and I'm sure it is the same way in a lot of other countries, money is not something that we openly talk about. And I believe it is one of the main reasons why so many people end up on the deep end with money. So the idea behind these talks is to educate, get us to start talking about money, and to get people to start behaving differently with their money, to have a better relationship with their finances, and so that it can help them create a roadmap for their lives. So today's discussion is all about the psychology of money, what it is and how it develops. We will look at how our beliefs are developed and how they have impacted our lives and shaped our money personality. Culture is another thing that affects how we behave and treat with our money. So I want us to delve into culture and money. And a little thing that I am fascinated about is black tax. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that. And we'll talk some more about our money personality, because some people are not even aware that they do have a money personality. So, ladies, thank you very much and welcome. So, let's get right into it.
Thank you so much for inviting us, Judy.
Thank you guys for being here. Before we get right into it, right, I want to ask each one of you, and I'm going to start with Veronica to just tell our viewers something.
Oh boy. I was listening to you and the introduction about money, and you mentioned about it being a Caribbean thing as well. I was born and bred in Ghana, right? West Africa. So there's a similar culture when it comes to the approach to money. It's something you don't want to talk too much about. It's something that you don't want to need too much of. It's something that you don't want to really ask about or even dream and fantasize about, right? Because, what kind of person are you? You're greedy, and all those little thoughts. And as little girls, especially, we have been, seeds have been planted from a very early age. Don't ask for too much, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to sweat and work hard and, bleed to earn any amount that, can give you a decent living. So all these things really became a big part of how we grew up and how we saw life and the relationship we had with money. So I'm so excited about unraveling this conversation, Judy, because it's something that I had to overcome myself. Becoming an entrepreneur, setting up your own business, making a difference in the world and trying to have that impact. You're so right. Money gives us options. So we need to break the shackles of what money really means. And like you said so beautifully, the relationship with money has to be much more loving. As women, this is something that we need to teach our little girls and little boys growing up.
Thank you. Monique, let's hear from you.
Oh my gosh. So first of all, I absolutely love what Veronica said about teaching our children to love money instead of actually being afraid of it. So my early exposures to money, I grew up in the beautiful islands of the Bahamas as well. And here's the thing. My mom was in the hospitality industry before she committed her life's purpose and work to becoming an educator. We already know that people who are educators, who are teachers in the school system, don't really make a lot of money, even though the impact is a whole lot greater. So my first exposures were really around us not having enough, running out of it, borrowing. And I saw so many different viewpoints. Even though I had that exposure in my immediate home, I also saw my exposure to money in my family members and the way that it transferred power, influence, and even just the way people would respond to you and look at you if you didn't have enough or if you had too much. What is too much? So my whole aspect of the relationship with money is something that I had to go on a journey and I had to learn. I didn't learn it from my elders because they just didn't have the money tools. They didn't have the money mindset. But I will tell you something. She gave me a love for learning. And I was able to learn through books, through TV, through exposure to different entrepreneurial environments. And that helped me to transform the way I approach money and how it impacts me right now. So I'm really looking forward to getting into more of the cultural conversation and how even that plays a huge influence in how we make money decisions in our personal life and in our business life too.
Wonderful. Is Rochelle with us? All right, so Killeen.
Hello, hello. Thank you, Judy. And so I am also so excited to have this conversation. I hail from the island of Grand Bahama in the Bahamas. This is where I work, play, and faith it. And I agree with everything that Veronica has said, everything you have said, and Monica said. I can remember my money beliefs that I had to intentionally disrupt. And it was because I heard a statement, a statistic, or just it was just a nuance that stuck out to me. And I say it all the time. And it talks about that by the time a child is 10 years old, that child has developed 80% of all of their emotions and their understanding of what money is based on their environment, based on their family beliefs, based on their culture. So I really, really I get so excited when I'm able to dive into the conversation around culture and money. And one thing that I always recall, which really showed where I had to disrupt it, is one of the money beliefs that I heard from my mom, or I adopted. It was through the statement where she said to make $1 out of 50 cents. But what happened with understanding that and moving forward with that, I had the mindset of struggle. So we didn't know or think about investment. We were only taught, how are we going to get more out of the little that we have? And when I got older and I was able to now understand more about the psychology of money, I had a different perspective where to make $1 out of 50 cents was all about wealth. So it was just a shift of the perspective. So I am just so excited to dive into this conversation today. And I want to say thank you again, Judy, for having me.
Thank you, ladies. And let's get right into it. I want to talk. So today's discussion is all about the psychology of money. So there's a psychology behind everything that we do. And I've had to learn that there's also a psychology behind money. So my thing is, what do you believe the psychology of money is? How do you think that we develop that psychology? And I mean, anyone can jump in, really.
Yeah, so the psychology, just like the word says, it's the mindset, what you think about money, what you believe to be true about money, and the kind of relationship you have with it as a result. So if you believe that money is always a struggle and that to have more than enough, you have to struggle and you have to hustle and you have to sweat and all those things, then that is the kind of experience you're going to have. I always say, you know what hard work is? Hard work was my grandma back in Ghana in the olden days in the cocoa farm with her hoe, plowing the soil, planting her cocoa, harvesting it, putting it on her head, walking miles to the markets to sell them, to make some money for her little children to go to school. That's hard work. So when you think of money and it being hard, then that's the experience. You're always going to be struggling. You're always going to be, thinking that scarcity mindset. So that is going to be the experience. And this is something that I learned and I had to experience myself. And I had to change that psychology, Judy, like you say, meaning the belief. I had to start thinking of money as energy, because that's what it is. It's matter. When you look at the structure of money, it's matter. Just like I am made up of matter, and like you and like anybody else watching, we're all made up of matter. What is matter? Matter is, the molecules, and then the atoms, and within the atoms, the nucleus, and all those things. That's pure energy within the nucleus. So that's what money's made of. So I am made up of what money is made of. So I am part of money, just like money is part of me. We are all part of each other. That shift was powerful for me when I realized that this is all vibrational. So if you're vibrating with your psychology of money on this level, right, and the vibration of money is here, you're never going to match up to the vibration until you change your psychology, your beliefs. What do you think about money? So absolutely, that's how I perceive it.
So you are so correct. It's money is energy. And until we recognize that money really is energy, we won't be able to bring in that which we seek. So,
Yes.
Kim, what do you think?
I love that perspective that Veronica brings, because I agree. When we understand that we have total control of what we do with our money and the direction it takes, when we take that perspective from a psychological point of view and make it a physical, tangible thing that we do, we are now the ones who control the emotions that are surrounded around money. And I love how she said, if you're operating on a low vibration, and money obviously always operates on a higher vibration, if you're not shifting and disrupting and changing your perspective around money and ensuring that you now seek knowledge that can give you a better understanding of what money is about, you will always operate on a lower level. So I love that perspective. And I believe truly that money is a tool for us so that we are able to do what we are placed here to do, what we want to do. And everyone's financial journey is independent and unique. And when we understand that and we realize that by shifting our psychology, our belief around money, we are also able to shift what happens with our money.
Certainly, that is so true. And Dr. Rochelle has joined us again. Thank you. Welcome. Monique, what do you think is...
I'm in alignment. You know what? Here's the thing for me. Well, like I was telling you, when I grew up, my whole belief and my exposure was just like when Killeen said that our emotions are formed by the age of 10, a lot of our beliefs and practices are formed during that time, and mine were. And so I didn't have any understanding of really the influence of money. All I knew is we needed it to pay bills, we needed it to eat, we needed it to get things done. And I also knew in my belief or my mindset that, well, you know what, if you don't have enough, you have to ask. And the culture is asking for money from your family or your friends. And then there's this understanding that because your family, you almost feel indebted or obligated to give. And I used to have that same mindset that carried on with me. But when we start talking about education, exposure, awareness, I will tell you, I did not have that understanding that money was a tool or that it was energy or it was on a different vibration. It was only until I began to get exposed to Susie Orman. I remember I was in my college apartment and I turned on the TV. I was getting ready for a class that one morning. And I listened to Susie Orman, and then I realized, okay, so my whole thought around money was wrong. Prior to that, I could care less about, say, bank fees. You know, I remember one of my girlfriends in college, I had two really good friends, Robin and Chantel, and one was a splurger and one was a very conservative. And the one that was very conservative, I would go to the ATM and I would draw money from the ATM at any bank, not the bank of the actual ATM, because it was just convenient. And I remember she said, "Why are you using that card at that bank? That's not the bank, that they're going to charge you extra fees." And I was like, so what? Like, I just need it. So I didn't even have that mindset. I didn't even have the awareness or the understanding that I was losing. I was not a responsible steward of what I had. And so it wasn't until I had that exposure with Susie Orman, and then also getting exposed to the entrepreneurial mindset. I started into Mary Kay, and Mary Kay, I had an opportunity to go to some trainings. I had a lady, I think I was 20 years old at the time, and I had a lady who she was getting ready to come out of her Mary Kay business, full Mary Kay business with repeat buying clients, and she wanted to shift it over to me. I did not understand what she was gifting. And so I said, no, I don't want that. That's too much work. Not realizing, but my exposure to the trainings that they had, you would get on these calls and they would talk about wealth building. They would talk about shifting your mindset. They would talk about setting up legacy for the future. And over time, through that whole culmination of books and TVs and entrepreneurship exposure, I began to see money differently. And I began to take different actions when I started to have my vision or my belief, rather, changed.
And I want to bring in Dr. Haynes, Rochelle.
Hi.
Right. So I want you to join the conversation with us. We're talking about the psychology of money, and we trying to work out how does that develop? What it is and how does it really develop?
Yeah, I love the varied opinions on the panel. I love the varied backgrounds because I can identify with so much of it, and then other opinions as well, especially when Veronica spoke about vibrations is so new and different for me. I've never heard that sort of description of relationship with money. So there's so much I'm learning already from just listening to the amazing panel. In terms of my relationship with money, I think it was very influenced by my parents, I must say, because similar to what was said before by some of our panelists is that I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I didn't grow up with a good idea and relationship with or knowing about money, particularly knowing how to invest and things like that. Because we had very little money, there was a sort of a love and a fear for money at the same time. It was something that we wanted, but it was seem, for example, one of my relatives was constantly say things to us like, "Oh, well, the rich will be rich and the poor will be poor. That's just how it is, and you have to accept that." So I kind of saw things out of my reach for quite a while. But then as I started to open up, as I started to gain exposure to persons, particularly relatives who grew up with entrepreneurial parents and so forth, then my perspective started to change and things started to seem more accessible. The thing is, though, when I actually came into having more money, there was then a sort of fear around losing it. So it was something I really wanted, but at the same time, I had this kind of mindset of when I do get enough that makes me feel secure, I have to hold on to it. And I can't go any further because if I go further, I risk losing it. So it was this kind of love and fear relationship at the same time. But where I started to change my mindset around money and loosen up in the way of not seeing it as something to be feared, I think that really changed my relationship with money. It changed how I invested. So it was really a process of unlearning and relearning for me with regards to money. And a lot of that was very much influenced by culture, yes, but particularly by what I heard growing up by my parents.
You know, some of us actually take the Bible literally when it says the poor will always be among us. I think some of us adopt that as our stance, as our psychology, as it relates to money. Now, this is really exciting, right? Because we have people here who um, have enjoyed three different cultures and some two different cultures. So, Monique, Bahamas, the US, and Nigeria, Veronica, Ghana, Poland, and the UK, and Rochelle, Barbados, and the UK. And we have Killeen from the Bahamas. I have Trinidad and Tobago, Belize, Grenada. So we have these different backgrounds, these different cultures. So what are some of the things from a cultural standpoint when we were growing up that we heard surrounding money that has helped to shape your money belief? And how do you think that that has impacted you?
Yeah. So, well, my mother, I followed my mother's footsteps, right? She used to be a teacher. And as you know, luckily back in Ghana, she was a teacher in an international school. So the salary that she received was, quite significant, but it was still a middle class family. And my mother was a really good saver and really good at planning. She would plan, she would save, and she would build her house. Like she has two houses back in Ghana, and it's because of her savings and her ability to plan ahead. So I really, as I was growing up as a little girl, right, when I wanted something to buy or when I wanted this or that, she'd always say, "No, you have to save." I'm saving. So that mindset of always saving to secure, an investment that you want to make was something that actually I admired in my mom. But as an adult and as a grown woman, I realized that, you know what, I want to be able to reach that point where, yes, I can save and I can invest, and I don't have the fear of also getting what I want. See, that's the thing. We fear wanting, asking for what we want and not even worrying about it. I want freedom. If you know me on social media, I'm like free. I want to be free. And that applies to money as well. When I go out there, I don't want to worry. I don't want to be thinking about, calculating. I just want to be free. So, of course, free responsibly when it comes to money. I'm not just saying, splash and do that. No, but I want to have the freedom to say, you know what, yes, I'm investing to buy a house, but I can still afford to do or buy this for my son or go here if I want to. I want to do what I want. And as a woman, as women, I think we should be okay wanting more of ourselves, wanting more out of life. We deserve it. We've worked for it. We've reached this point. We've grown into this state of mind. We should be okay and we should embrace wanting more for ourselves, for our children, for the world, and to have a greater impact. And like one of the panelists said, it's a tool. So yes, it's okay to want money and not feel bad about it.
I really love that idea of want. I just love that idea. That we should want and not be afraid of wanting. I really, really love that. What is your take on that, Killeen?
So from my perspective, especially from understanding that the foundation of financial planning is planning for what you want. We come from the background or the backdrop of thinking or believing that our budget is restrictive and our budget tells us what to do. But from the opposite and the more productive and more powerful perspective, understanding that our budget or our spending plan allows us to have the freedom of all of the wants and the desires that we would like for ourselves and create it through our financial plan, if we come from that perspective and understanding that, it allows us to be more powerful in positioning ourselves for prosperity, for wealth, for whatever it is we want to do with our money. To hear that kind of conversation that Veronica just talked about, people have or look at it from a taboo point of view. And it's because of having these restrictive understandings and definitions of what words mean. When you now understand that I have the power to do what I want with my money, and you create that life that you want from your perspective, and you allow yourself and your money to align with that, we are able to do things differently. We are able to unlearn the psychology of what we would have heard growing up. We would be able to arrest that scarcity, that poverty mindset, and understand that we do not have to be restricted by what we believe was taught to us, or the perception of how Bible quotes were given to us.
Yes.
But to understand that we are from a God of abundance, a God that is a creator, and he has created each of us individually and uniquely, and we have the power to do what we want with our money. Once we shift our perspective, once we understand that it's all about what we want for our families, what we want for our generations, and then move forward from that. So saying you want something doesn't take away or make it seem as if you're being irresponsible with money. It's being authentic and truthful and vulnerable so that you are able to make the best decisions that you want for yourself and make yourself a priority when it comes to your money matters.
Yeah. And I love this because let's say we liken money to a diet. You know, a diet is restrictive, and you restrict yourself from, you can't have this, you can't have that, you can't have no rice, you can't have no potato, you can't, you can't. And then you come off and you eat all the rice and all the potato, and then you put back on all the weight. It's the same thing we do with our money. So if we see our budgets as being restrictive, we are going to spend. It's actually not going to help us, because our budget should never, ever be restrictive. What do you think, Monique?
I love it. And I love the analogy. You know, I love this analogy because I just came off a detox, which you know about as well, Judy. And it's all about the way you approach it. It's the mindset that you have approaching it, understanding, well, why am I doing this? You know, and really, like what Killeen said, is tapping into what you want. So the whole thing is, we don't know what we want if we haven't taken the time to sit down and actually vision and see a different future for ourselves. We're mainly conditioned to just respond to what's right in front of us, that day to day, right here in that moment. But as Veronica said, when, you know, talking about that whole aspect of wanting more, sitting down and approaching it about really what is it that you want, and not just stopping at answering that question initially, but really diving down and drilling down consistently 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 layers down. What do I really want? So that when you put that plan in place, it's connecting to the emotion of that desire that you have, and not just, I want money. What is the money for? What is that going to give you? How free will you feel? What will you be able to do with that freedom? And so when we talk about it being like energy, you need to be thinking about like a hose, a water hose. It has to flow. And so if there's something blocking the hose, the water is going to spurt out here and spurt out there, and it won't really be a flow that is a complete stream. But when we are able to actually now remove those restrictive beliefs and thoughts and patterns by tapping truly into what we want, getting into that creative space, getting into the emotions of that energy, then we are now allowing it to flow. And I remember one time a lady had told me, she was like, she's like, you don't need money to do things. You don't need money to get things done. And I remember several years hearing this, and I was like, what's she talking about? And she said, you really don't need money to get things done. And I was like, okay, she drinking something, or she got a little something, I don't know. But it wasn't until after the fact that I actually realized what that meant. And I remember Lisa Guadalupe Clark. She's a lady here in Atlanta, owns a recruiting staffing company. And she shared her story about how she started her business. And she didn't have a lot of money, but before long, because she had that desire and she had the want, and she shared that with her community, she ended up getting a location, printers, resources, all sorts of things that she needed to have in order for her desire to be met. And she didn't even have to have a lot of money. So when we think that money is not like we don't need it in order to connect with what we really want, we realize that money is not something that's gonna block us. It's just something that's a complement. It's an exchange of that energy. If you have that service or that product, you're putting out that energy and you're receiving it. It's coming back to you. It's that flow. It's that cycle. It's that whole process. So that's my take on it. And I feel like conversations like this, that what we're having right now, sharing stories, is what's going to continue to help expose people to the awareness, because exposure is something that I think all of us on the panel, that's one thing we've had in common. We had that. All of us start with the poverty mindset. We all started with the poverty mindset, but something along the way, which was that awareness, whether it was, being exposed to the entrepreneurship family like Rochelle, or seeing things differently like Killeen, and or Veronica tapping into that vibrational space. Those are aspects of knowledge and self-awareness and exposure. So conversations like this help others to see, wow, okay, I could actually think differently and take an action towards shifting my mindset.
Yeah. I like that when you said, because I'm a deep diver, so I'm all about the energy and the vibration, because ultimately that's all there is in this whole world. It's all energy, it's all matter, it's all vibration. One thing we talk about shifting that mindset. For me, like I think Killeen said, it's about identifying what you want. And now it's about 10 years ago, when I was standing in the pawnbroker shop, when our two businesses had gone bankrupt. And I was standing in that pawnbroker shop selling my last precious belongings. It was in that moment that I realized, Veronica, what do you really want? It was like the first time I asked myself that question, what do you really want? And it really starts from there. And when I realized also what I was made of, because you know what, I lost everything. There was nothing. So what is left of you if you have nothing? Who are you then? I realized that I'm a vibrational being. I'm pure energy. And you know what? Energy is creative. So where my energy is going to go, that's what I'm going to create. So when I started from that point of identifying what it is that I want to experience in life, what impact I want to have, what experiences I want to have for my children, for myself, for the world, that's where the transformation really started. And for me, I had a lot of visualization. I visualized a lot. And I'm a visual thinker, and it really levels up the vibration of your thoughts, because thoughts are vibrational. And the more you think of something, the stronger that vibration is. So I'd visualize, what I was doing in the world. I'd close my eyes and I'd visualize myself impacting. I'd visualize myself speaking on stage, transforming lives, and living the life that I truly wanted. A free life to be who I am, to do what I want, and to experience what I wanted in life. So for me, the big shift was visualization, because that changes your frequency and that changes your mindset as well. So that's one technique that I use, a lot of visualization. I still do it, even with your bank account. Like you can literally close your eyes and just see the numbers, like, yeah. And it's just coming with ease and flow, yes. Whilst making that impact, it's receiving and giving. That's the vibration. That is a principle of the universe. You give, you receive. That's it. So yes, that's one technique when you talk about shifting perspective on how you see money.
So,
Totally agree.
so Rochelle, right? You know, in the Caribbean, if you start dreaming and dreaming, your parents tell you, stop going, do something time.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with so much of what Veronica said because my motto in life, my philosophy in life has always been don't wish for it, work for it. And I've always been a planner, and I've always been a person who believes if you can manifest something, then you create that vision in your mind and then create the path to get there. So a good example was a friend of mine that I was coaching recently on entrepreneurship. He was going through quite a difficult situation. He was budgeting very tightly. He had a job that was paying a good salary, but because prices, taxes have gone up over the years, he had personal expenses, medical expenses that went up. What started out as being a good salary, he now struggles to live on. So he constantly says things to me like, oh, I would love to own that Hilux pickup. I would love to own this particular thing. And I keep saying back to him, okay, so what are you going to do about it? So let's plan for it. And his mindset was constantly, I just can't, man. You see already what I'm doing. You see, I'm struggling even with food. You see, I'm cutting back in every area. And I was saying to him, you know what? You can keep cutting back. You can keep being very restrictive in what you are eating, in your budgeting and whatnot. And you will find yourself in the exact same position or worse off because things will go up again. In 20 years, if you want something and you want to improve your situation, one, you need to first create the vision of where you see yourself going. So actually manifest that. And then let's sit down with a piece of pen and paper and then plan your road of actually getting there. But to sit down and with this constant mindset of there isn't enough, and I just have to deal with my lot in life without actually manifesting and putting some plan in place is ridiculous, especially where you are, you're looking at what other people have and you're wishing you had that. It's like wanting to win the lottery and not buying a ticket. So actually that manifestation is so important to actually make sure you can actually move towards that end goal. And luckily I've seen that for myself, especially the point where Monique, you were saying, you had your friend who said that you don't necessarily need a lot of money. And I've seen that because I've had friends that said to me, Rochelle, I'm traveling this place, and say, how are you going there? Are you paying for it? Oh, no, I found a grant somewhere. And one of the most valuable lessons that person showed me was how to travel for free. So that person showed me if I wanted to go to a particular place and I wanted to pursue a particular network or project, how to actually plan for it. Even if I don't have money and I don't have the capital, he showed me how to find roads and create roads. So it's really important, even if you don't see yourself as having that background of money, don't see yourself of having money in the moment. If you can actually visualize it and start to dig and really look and plan for that, then you can change your entire situation. So I agree with Veronica, really the energy you put out there is really the energy that comes back to you.
Certainly. And I have this analogy that I use as it relates to money, where I say, well, okay, you have a weight loss again, because everybody understands weight loss. So you have a pants in your closet, right? And so my pants, I would call it my big pants. So when I put on weight, it's the pants that I would go to. But you have that pants, and you know that if you keep that pants in your closet, chances are you're always going to be putting on weight and putting on weight. You know you should give it away, but you just have it in your closet. That is how I view money beliefs that we've gotten from our parents, our grandparents, and other people in our life. It's not our money pants, it's theirs, but we keep it and we keep wearing it consistently. So as it relates to your parents and your grandparents' beliefs, do you recognize, well, not at this point, obviously, but before the transformation happened, how did those beliefs affect the decisions that you make as it relates to how you spend your money, how you save your money, and just your life in general. How did that work? What Rochelle?
I think it's really it's very societal. It's very handed down. We have a lot of ideas about money and what is meant for us that sometimes we don't even question where we get those ideas, especially within particularly the Black population, especially with that history of colonialism and so forth. There's an issue around ownership, and I know a lot of persons that I've spoken to. They think almost it's impossible to own, let's say, land or to own a house or so forth. I know more and more that that is changing, but it has been a problem before within certain, let's say, post-colonial societies where certain things are seen as out of reach and out of touch. Even thinking around investment is changing as well. Those are things that we don't learn in school. We would not have grown up hearing. And it's really time that we question, why isn't that on the curriculum by now? Why aren't we learning how to invest? Why aren't we learning the skills that we actually need to know? And about the most important thing that we will be dealing with in life, which is money. Why aren't we learning about that in school? So I think those ideas that are passed down through society, which then become embedded within our households, and that we accept without questioning, becomes so hard to break when you get, let's say, 30, 40 years on, and you now have to re-question. Often it's exposure to different mindsets and exposure to persons that do things differently that then make you think, well, actually, maybe this is possible, and maybe that is possible. So I think there's a lot of societal beliefs that become very embedded in the home, which then are passed on to our kids and very much influences how we think about what is for us and what is attainable.
For sure. And I'm going to ask Killeen, because Killeen is a certified financial educator, education instructor. So as Rochelle talked about, it's not being taught in school. Really, it is, to me, the most important education that we should have, but we don't get it. I mean, I don't know anything about calculus. I could tell you that for sure. What do you think? How do you think we can change that to try and get personal financial education on the curriculum?
Well, definitely having conversations like this is evidence where it needs to be on the curriculum, because we have all had vast experiences, or we've come from different countries, but yet we all have experienced the same lack of knowledge. So it shows where we have to create these grassroots movements where we continue to have the conversations fearlessly, where we speak to our children or to anyone that we are able to now impact based on our interactions. We need to be the change. We need to also, one of the things that really gets a response is if the children or the younger generation is interested in something. So we need to get them excited about entrepreneurship, about investing, because they are becoming excited about it. But then the challenge is it's not in the school systems. So in order for us to get it where it can be a part of curriculum, is to continue to have these conversations within our inner circles, within our communities, within our churches, within civic organizations, wherever we can have these conversations. We just need to have the conversations, because it is systemic why we don't have it in the curriculum. We have been guided by other countries that would have owned us, or we would have been colonized by, and we have adopted their infrastructure or their academic assembly of what should be taught. Yet they are the ones who experience the 1%, or who are exposed to the information in order that they become the ones that are wealthy. So we have to agitate for it. It's not going to be an easy agitation, because you're dealing with also mindset blocks. Even the ones who are in the position to make the decisions, their mindsets are very blocked. But I believe if we start from the bottom, if we start from the grassroots level, if we start with our children, those that we can impact, and the younger generation, there would definitely be a shift. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be definitely worth it.
I like the way you
No,
mentioned.
I was going to ask you,
Oh,
Veronica,
yes.
from your educator standpoint.
No, I was just I'm enjoying what Killeen was saying, because you mentioned the inner circle, and it just reminded me of my son, right? He still doesn't understand how mommy makes her money. But the other time he was asking, "Mommy, how do I make money? I want to make money. Like I want to earn," because he has his piggy bank, and I give him some coins. His daddy gives him some coins, and he puts there. And when he wants something, I'm like, "Okay, yeah, make the money." It's like, "So how do I make the money?" I'm like, "Make somebody happy." Because that's what I love about making money. It's about being yourself, using your zone of genius, and giving happiness to others, giving a transformational experience to others. That's what I do in my job. I give happiness. I give transformation. I make other people's lives. I make other people's lives better. So I like teaching that to my son, because I think that's the future. When you can give and give an experience, and also make people happy, change their lives, solve a solution that somebody's struggling with. That give and take relationship is how I see it going. So teaching my son the principles of how to make money, I don't like just restricting it to get a job, right? Go to university, yeah, get the paper, get the job. That's how we were taught, right? And we know that, yes, education is great and it just gives us more options. But we also know that that's not the sole requirement to succeed in life. And I want him to understand that it's not just A, there are B, C, D, and other options that you can also apply in your life and learn to live life fully and successfully and passionately. So yes, when we talk about pants, that's the kind of pants I want to give him.
You know, we have a thing where we say it's better to give than to receive. No, I think that's a little bit of a myth, because I think that there is yin and yang, there is flow in everything. So if I give without remaining open to receiving, then I'm blocking that flow. So, money, how can we properly communicate that? I mean, if we are saying, let's get into schools, let's get into communities, let's get into churches. I mean, you are my expert here. You help me to communicate. How do we communicate that to the people?
Okay, so I mean, I'm gonna tie into the previous question as well too, Judy, because my thought around this is, yes, that whole the saying, it's better to give than receive. I think sometimes we take that too literal. And if we're not able to receive, then we are blocking off our blessings and we are blocking off things that are designed for us. But we see that happen so often, even in something as small as compliments. Someone who may compliment you, you may have a hard time receiving that. And you're like, oh, I don't want that. Or you feel as though there's an ulterior motive. So even though we're talking about money, it's just one component or one compartment, but the whole self, the whole being is an area of exploration. You talked about when we were growing up, or I think Rochelle was saying that, you don't create the problem. What was it? Don't create the problem, solve the problem, or something about manifesting the creativity aspect of it. And as we're growing up as kids, we have that creativity stifled because we have those societal conditioning. We have the beliefs that are, in those boxes. But I want to get to the pragmatic pieces here too. When we think about the whole going to school, getting a job, being a note taker, every single one of us on this panel, we've done that. One of the things that is very clear and apparent to me is that each one of us are entrepreneurs. And so right now, especially with COVID-19 happening, I think that especially in the Caribbean, our world has been thrust to explore entrepreneurship in a much more positive and powerful way. And I think entrepreneurship is a great way for us to get in touch with ourselves. It's one of the greatest self-development tools, because if you come up with your beautiful idea and you can create something and put it out there in the world and be compensated for it, you're tapping into your creativity. But you also need to have your product market fit. You have to make sure that you're providing something that people need, and you are becoming a problem solver. So to Killeen's point about the systems that we are using right now in our education system, those have been designed to leave out education of finance or those financial components. Those have been systematically designed that way. And even we see it in business for trading. We're taught to trade with westernized countries. We're not taught to trade amongst each other, the Caribbean and Africa, or even within the Caribbean in terms of trade. So those are the systemic things. But when we want to influence change in terms of shifting that mindset, we can bring in entrepreneurship. I think that would be a very practical or pragmatic solution to making sure that we are exposing as many people as possible to get into that creative aspect. What do you see other problems that are happening around us right now? What do you see? Maybe the solution is that we don't need to have it in the school system. Maybe it needs to be on the outskirts, because the school system has been already conditioned for that traditional linear model. Maybe that's not, I'm just making it up. Maybe that's not where it needs to be. Maybe it needs to be somewhere else. But I do feel like entrepreneurship is definitely a solid start to helping people to begin to see things differently, think about problems, and then try to be a problem solver instead of, I've gone to school, I have my job, nobody wants to give me a promotion. That's my only trajectory to money. When you can create something like a pen or a t-shirt, and now you see that, wow, I've put my ideas into this thing and I'm solving a problem that people have, and I can go out there and actually make money from it. Now we're tapping into multiple dimensions of self, that visualization, the intellect, the community service aspect, all because of entrepreneurship.
That is you're absolutely right. And I am loving this conversation, but the time, we're about to wrap up. But before we do, I really want to ask you, because one of the things is, when I started this journey, is that I didn't realize that each of us, just like we have our personality type A, D, C, I didn't realize that each of us has a money personality. So I just want to touch a little bit on that. How do you think that what we learn from growing up, and as we go along the way, and the decisions we make, how do you think that have helped to shape the personality that we have? And do you think that, well, of course, yes, I'm going to answer that question. I was going to ask, do you think our money personality changed? But yes, it does, because I'll tell you, I was a spender. So I know that was my money personality. But let's just talk quickly a little bit about that. Killeen, what are your thoughts on people's money personality?
Well, definitely, I believe that that individuals have money personalities. Your psychology on money is your foundation that helps shape your money personality. And it's your exposure and your experience and your education that allows you to now shift that personality. So a lot of us have very strong money personalities. So I put it on my Facebook status. I talked about where you can be you're just an outright spender. You're an outright just a saver. You are someone who seeks security, or you're just someone who just totally avoids dealing with anything that has to do with any stability or any structure when it comes around your money. So when we are able to understand what our money personality is, and it's not about saying that you cannot be either or, that one is better than the other. It's now adopting it so that you're able to craft the financial legacy that you want for yourself. And so I believe that identifying your money personality is the first step in being able to create a holistic financial wealth blueprint. And then you're able to now accomplish or do what you want with your money, and also ensure that you can shift your psychology and what you pass on to other generations. So your money personality is the first step in being able to identify your financial health.
Definitely. What are your thoughts on that, Veronica?
Let's play a game, a very quick game for the viewers and for the panelists. What comes to mind when I say this? Okay, just notice what comes to your mind, all right? I'm a money lover. What came to your mind, Killeen? What came to your mind, Monique? What came to your mind?
Excitement. Yes.
Right? Okay. You see
What did Monique say?
Excitement.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I was ready to, enthusiasm.
That shows us the kind of money personality we have. But most people say, "Oh, money lover." Like, what does that mean, money lover? Does she love money? It's not good to love money. How can you love money? Most people would think that. And so this is a great experiment just to show that at this stage, we have broken really great blocks when it comes to money. When somebody says, I'm a money lover, and you're like, oh, wow, that's exciting. Yeah, great. That's a sign that you are okay with money and you have a good, loving relationship with money. If somebody says, I'm a money lover, and you have, that's not a good thing, that surfaces a lot of limiting beliefs. So if your thought was, that's strange, check the relationship you have with money.
So we all felt that excitement because I'm thinking like, yes.
Yeah, because then the more.
Yes, we have all that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, and that shows, well, from my perspective, it just shows the great shift that I've had as it relates to my relationship with money. My thing now is when people say money can't buy you happiness, I disagree. I really disagree with that because I think it is easier to cry in a Mercedes than on a bicycle. How do you do that?
Judy, where you get these from, man?
I can only get to do that if I shift my perspective, if I detox my money mindset and adopt a mindset that takes me forward. Right?
Yeah.
So we're about to wrap up. So
wow.
Imagine that. But we're gonna come back
again. That was really good.
Yes, me too.
I enjoyed that.
Really exciting. This is really an exciting thing. So, from each of you, can you tell our viewers how they can start to make the move, get the different thoughts to shift, to start shifting from a place of lack? Because that's really what it is. It really is a place of lack to a place of abundance.
I would start with that manifestation. You have to know what you want first and stop seeing certain things as out of reach. And I think that's easier said than done, but it does come with a starting point. Just visualize that idea. Start with visualizing what you want and start thinking about, okay, how do you get there? And another thing with that is to realize that you are not alone on that journey, because I think often when people visualize what they want, they see it as, oh, that's so out of reach. But I always say constantly, collaboration over competition. I don't believe in this scarcity mindset. We're all here to help and support each other. And even that is a mindset that has to change, because in the past, we would have seen a lot of persons, like in terms of that post-colonial societal learning as well, thinking like crab in the barrel thinking. You can visualize what you want and then create a path of how to get there, but you're not alone in actually pursuing that path. So breaking that mindset of that scarcity mindset that there's not enough for us all, and actually visualizing and getting people on board with you who identify with your vision.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Monique?
Well, yeah, I love that. I love the visualization. So, what I would contribute and what I would add to what you have already shared, Rochelle, do your visualization and also watch this live show at least 7 times. When we are learning and we are being exposed to new ways of thinking, repetition is very, very important. Watch this show multiple times. Get your notepad out, get your pen. You know, I specialize in the self-awareness and emotional intelligence, and I use public speaking to help people share their stories. So I would say, ask yourself a couple of questions, the same questions that we talked about in this show today that Judy mentioned. You know, what was my earliest exposure to money? What did I feel about money? What did I observe about money? Really starting to write those questions down. Exactly. What is my money personality? You have a whole system right here in this show to actually help you begin to learn more and get more in tune with the beliefs that you currently have and how they are impacting your life. A bonus, I would say, is really to think about the people in your sphere of influence, your family, and to think about, okay, when I think about someone who is not good with money or who has a poor money mindset or just really thinks money is just so hard to come by, look at those people in your sphere of influence. Look at those people in your family. Create a chart and identify the folks in your family who have those beliefs, and identify the folks in your family who live from that place of abundance, and make sure that you have a list of what do they do? How do they behave? How do they spend? How do they save? What do they invest in? And just go ahead and take that initial inventory. It's going to be extremely powerful and insightful for you. And that's a beginning portion. That homework assignment is going to take you at least a couple hours. So make sure you watch this 7 times. Make sure you do your inventory. Ask yourself the same questions that we discussed on the show. And that's a practical way you can begin your own shift.
Yeah, I like that, what Monique said. And just to add on to that, one thing that I had to do, which was a breakthrough, was create my own affirmations. So if you have a pen and paper, take it out and write this down. What do I want to start believing about money? Who asks this question? Like who asks this kind of question? Ask yourself, okay, I have this relationship with money. It's not the most healthiest. My bank account is quite evident. It's the manifestation of my beliefs. So what do I want to start believing about money? Write the list down. And that's your personal list. It's come from you. It's not from the internet downloaded. It's not something that somebody has given to you. It's yours. What do you want to start believing about money? That is a great shift. Do that and start manifesting, start affirming. I believe money comes to me with ease and flow. Yeah. I am a money magnet, right? Yes. I receive the abundance that comes my way. I'm a receiver, and everything comes to me. What I want wants me.
Yes.
And start from that point and start repeating that, like Monique said, repetition. Listen, the programming that we have about money is because it has been repeated to us from childhood. It's a program. So that's the only way you can reprogram. The same way it's been programmed in your mind is the same way you have to reprogram it through repetition. But first, identify what is it that you want to believe and move from there.
So we have a question, and I'm going to ask Killeen to answer this. Marissa is asking, how do you understand your money personality?
How do you understand your money personality? So definitely what you have to do is you have to do the mirror exercise. You have to look at what you do when it comes to spending. What do you do when it comes to saving? What is your mindset or your actions when it comes to maybe investing? What do you do when you get money? What do you do when you're paid? You know, some of us, we know in the Caribbean, we talk about when we get paid, it's like from feast to famine. So you just splurge and you just spend, and then going after the money is gone, then you are in a famine position until you make money again or you're paid again. And that's that paycheck to paycheck mentality. But what you have to do is similar to the exercise that Monique would have talked about by identifying those individuals in your family that have opposite actions or experiences that they have done in their life to show that that reflect a wealth or an abundance mindset, or you have to now do that for yourself. And you have to write down everything because you cannot fix what you don't face. And that is something that I always say. So in order for you to understand your money personality, it's not any complex psychology around it. It's just literally writing down your actions, answering those questions that Monique would have spoke about. You need to know, identify what is your first money story, your earliest emotions and experiences around money. You need to identify how it makes you feel, because all of these things would create what your money personality is. Are you someone that you don't want to talk about money? You don't want to hear about money. You don't want to interact with your own experiences around money. You don't want to look at your bank account. You shy away from certain things. You're the avoider. That's the type of money personality you have. As Judy would have talked about, she was a spender. A spender means that it doesn't matter. Once you get that money, you got to get rid of that money. You have to purchase something. You have to buy something. So you just need to now sit and analyze from a simple perspective, nothing complicated. What is it that I do with my money once money hits my hand? And once you're able to look at that and be very reflective and honest and transparent about what you do with your money, you're able to identify your money personality. And then you're able to now move from where you're at to a new money personality that will be more advantageous and positive and create more powerful connections for yourself around your money. And so that's just from a basic level, something that I would advise in order to identify your money personality.
And one of the things too is like, how do you feel when you have money? How do you feel when you spend it? How do you feel when you put it in the bank? How do you really feel? How does it make you feel when you have it? And for me, that is very important to help us start to understand the relationship that we have with money. Because a lot of people have this anxiety around money. And what that does, it shifts the energy. And instead of giving you what you really want, it gives you what you think you don't want. But the anxiety really is you're concentrating so much on that. And I know that energy flows where attention goes. So if you keep thinking, lack, I don't, that is exactly what you are going to get. So think about how you interact with your money. Give that some thought, and that is going to help you to start to move from one point to the next.
Judy, I just want to add just one last thing, because I love that you know, what we do is we always come from the lack point of view. But the one thing that I want individuals that would listen to this live to take away, because this will shift your perspective, is to think, if money was no issue, what would your life look like for you? What kind of life would you want for yourself? How can I create that life? When you now take the restriction off or the lack mentality off, and you just now just look at it from the perspective of, what if there was no issue? You are now able to create the visualization of what the possibilities are for you, and you're able to now move towards it. And definitely what Monique said about listening to this 7 times, from a psychological point of view, our mind defaults to saying no to anything at minimum 6 times. We don't say yes until it's the 7th time. And so definitely That's something I want to reiterate, to continuously rewatch this, because beautiful gems were dropped from every lady on this panel today. I am going to rewatch it when I'm done with this.
Thank you, ladies. Really, really thank you. I love this conversation. I loved it, loved it, loved it. And we're going to have a part two. We must have a part two of this conversation. I know that our viewers would have gotten some really gems, like Killeen said, some gems from this conversation. So I encourage you, our viewers, whether it is you're live or you're looking at the replay, to look at it again and again and again so that you get the reinforcement. If you have joined us late, I just want to tell you that on the January 16, 2021, I'll be having a money mindset detox mini course to help you start to build your wealth from the inside out, because that's how you start to build your wealth. You have to shift that mindset. So click on the link below to get on the waiting list. So thank you very much for viewing. I am Judy McCutcheon, your host, your badass queen and impact coach. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to like, comment, share, follow, and connect with me and these beautiful ladies on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. You just put in the names on. All right, there it is up on the screen. So see you next week, same time, same place. And next week we'll be discussing financial planning, because we don't like to plan. We like to bafu. There's a thing that we say in Belize. We like to bafu and kagama. We not do any kind of planning. So next week we want to bring that to you to help you in further shifting to get to the place where you need to get to in terms of your money. So please stay safe and follow the physical distancing protocol. I know that in some places COVID is on the rise, so you want to be safe. We all want to get to 2021, because 2021 is going to be rocking. So please stay safe. See ya.